on smart speakers and radio.com.
AK, Dynamite and Address, or just Andrea Kaye. Whatever you call her, she's on The Answer San Diego.
Welcome back to tonight's Andrea Kaye show. At the top of the hour, I was sharing with people who might not know me, might be new to the show, that I'm the proud daughter of 2 Marines. I love me my military, and I was asking the question how many people had lost their lives, given their lives in service to our country to protect our right to vote, which happened today in Wisconsin. And here to discuss that and more is my favorite Gunnery Sergeant, retired. She's also co-chair of Veterans for Trump. She's on the advisory board of Women for Trump. She's a Newsmax contributor, and it is Jessie Jane Duff. Welcome back to the show, JJD.
Well, that is awesome to know I'm your favorite Gunnery Sergeant. Considering both of your parents are Marines, you're surrounded by Marines. You're in San Diego. You might cause a revolution of Marines now, because picking favorites is never popular among Marines. I will say there is no I in team, and I'm here to speak for all the warriors out there, that we aren't going to stand for this country getting shut down, and we need to get back to work. So let's just hurry up, folks, because this virus will not defeat us. If the Japanese, the Germans, the Nazis, I should say, and the Islamic regime could not defeat this country, I'll be darned if we're going to have a virus knock us on our butt.
Oh, you preach it, girl. And I know that Trump wants to get us back to work, and I know that he's aware that there's some people involved here with this task force that would that have a vested interest in keeping this dragging out until there's a vaccine. And I know that Trump is well aware. He's got can you imagine, Jessie Jane Duff, any other human being, let alone any other Republican, who getting elected to office, going through what he has gone through these past 3 years, from the Russian collusion hoax and investigation meant to remove him from office, with his own family being targeted, and friends and campaign associates being prosecuted and thrown in jail, and what happened to Flynn, and then you got the whistleblower nonsense, and now you've got this, which is being exploited. It's a real virus. Real people are dying, but it's real in the way that it's been exploited and propagandized for power. One of the ways that they're trying to do it that's not getting a whole lot of talk today is voting. And the Democrats didn't want this primary to happen in Wisconsin. They had a judge in Wisconsin who tried to allow mail-in voting to go past today. It got to the Supreme Court, and they said, no, that would alter this election. And, so the Democrats are hysterical. What do you want people to know? I guess we're still not going to be able to get results tonight. But I know that the left is hysterical today, that people's lives are at risk because they went out to vote. But hat tip to those in Wisconsin that got out, practiced social distancing, and exercised their most precious right as Americans. Jessie Jane Duff.
Absolutely. Every vote must be cast and counted on time. I don't want to hear about boxes of ballots showing up a week from now that suddenly decide to be counted. Everything must be postmarked on time and received within the parameters of the mail delivery service, cast and counted on time. No postmarks after April 8th. No ballots showing up in boxes because somebody decided that they might be losing an election and we want to bend it another way. I am not for ballot harvesting. I'm not for mail-in ballots. The reason is because you will see rampant voter fraud. And, of course, the left will say you've never been able to prove it yet because you guys are so sneaky and sleazy. It's very difficult to prove.
Right.
Honestly, let's just be honest about it. If you wanted to say that there's no voter fraud, then why do you fight us tooth and nail against voter ID? Why do you fight us? Because I dare to say the number of people that can't get an ID probably wouldn't know how to vote in the first place. Every single state affords the opportunity for its citizens to receive an identification card at little or no cost, for this simple fact that nobody can say that it's discriminatory. I find that repulsive, and I call it dumbing down the expectations of what it is to be an American citizen, to uphold this right that our founding fathers and those generations that came before us have fought and died for. This election process, I admire the Wisconsin people who got out there and stood 6 feet away in a line that probably went halfway around the block because nobody wanted to get near the other person, wearing their mask, walking in there to cast their ballot. And if We should win this election. Do you understand that this would mean that we would have the Supreme Court of Wisconsin till I believe it's 2026? This is a very powerful testimony to what it means for conservatives. We want a legitimate election, not one that is stolen or gives a question mark. But this coronavirus has allowed, or the Chinese virus, let's call it what it is, because the Chinese have tried to kill us through this and then tried to turn around and tell countries that they wanted their ventilators or other type of mask or surgical equipment or whatever the heck it is that they want to provide to them, that they have to make these shady deals with them. Honestly, the Chinese care about one thing, their power and control, and this has been their way to stretch their muscle and have the New York Times doggone advocate for the Communist Party of China. Who would have ever thunk it? THUNK. Who would have ever thunk it? Because this is absurd. When we look at what has happened with the Chinese and communism breaking down our back door, and Americans, often on the left, are swallowing that jagged little pill just because they'd rather be a communist and support that party than support the President of the United States.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the things that he said today at the press conference is his plan to withhold funds from. He kind of contradicted himself. At first, I thought he said there will be a hard hold on money going to the WHO, and then he said, "Well, I'm going to consider it." Either way, I applaud it because we are primarily funding the World Health Organization, who said back at December, January, February, there's nothing to see here. It's no big deal. And oh, by the way, the head of the World Health Organization was some handpicked dude who has no medical history and is a communist in his own right. So why is the United States of America, Trump is right to question that, why is the United States of America still contributing the lion's share of the money to an organization that's in bed with China, spreading viruses around the world? It's crazy. One of the reasons why I want to get your perspective on that, and then also I want to make sure we don't move entirely off of the voting thing, because one of the reasons why the left wants to keep the shutdowns happening through November is they want it to become an all-male, all-in male, not men, but a mailing MAIL voting situation, which would be so much corruption, and we can't allow that to happen.
Absolutely. We should never delegitimize our elections. We know from our own experience that the ballot harvesting allows various party officials to gather the ballots and submit the ballots, even help and assist them fill out their ballots. I'm sorry. Who the heck out there thinks that this is a good idea? I don't care what party is in charge. You have got to exercise your right to vote. That is a privilege for those in the United States of America as citizens of this country and legal citizens, those who have been felons, those who have lost their right. But those who have maintained the privilege to vote should be showing up to vote. When you start having more and more mail-ins, now people who have been unable to leave their premises, like often elderly in old folks' homes, so to speak, those who have a long-term illness. And during this coronavirus, people can apply for absentee ballots due to their possibility of being infected. We're not denying anyone the right to vote, but to make it a mail-in ballot formula across the United States, why would one party be pushing for that so aggressively? And now you have the Bill Kristols out there, the former conservatives who would be benchmark of conservatism, now telling conservatives, you must call all of your representatives who are conservative, all the Republicans, and say, why are you denying me the right to vote? Because they're using the coronavirus to do many things to shove down our throats. Make no mistake. This is the opportunity for them to have universal health care, to have socialized medicine, to have state-run medicine, because one size fits all now. Make sure you don't get any of that surprise medical billing, so make sure only doctors can make so much by what we regulate, and ensure that only people can vote the way we want them to vote. This is rampant fraud. It's rampant opportunity to make people more and more dependent upon the government. It scares the heck out of me and how much that President Trump has had to compromise with these Democrats in order just to get things passed in Congress, because Congress is what holds the purse strings. And if he held it up because Nancy Pelosi wanted all of her sweetheart deals in there, then he would have been criticized. He was in that rock and a hard place. So he had to push forward and overlook the money that was given to places like the Kennedy Center that decided to lay off their employees anyway. But if you have socialized medical care, I want to ask every American out there, how did that work out for China? Because when your government runs your health care, do you think they're going to be honest at how they screwed it all up? Are they going to be honest with how many people have died? Are they going to be like Italy and then blame the virus for everybody dying instead of recognizing that people died from heart attacks and diabetes and obesity? Are they going to lie to you because now they're held accountable? And where's that going to leave you when it's time to go after a doctor for malpractice? Can you actually sue the government? No, you cannot. Watch out for surprise medical billing, but don't use that as an opportunity to now make it government-controlled medical billing, because I don't know which one's worse. Communism and socialism are the two choices you have here. One is when they take your rights. The other is where you voted in. And you know what the difference is? Murder and suicide. Communism being murder and socialism being suicide. So which one do you want it to be? It's a poison pill. Either way you take it.
Oh, girl. Jessie Jane Duff, she came here and she went up to the podium and she gave a sermon. Thank you so much for being...
Keep me out of mass. Keep me out of mass as long as somebody's got to preach, right?
Yeah.
I can't even go to mass anymore. So I'm going to get on the radio and do it. This is where it boils down to, folks. I'm okay. We are going to sit here and we're going to wait this out. But don't you tell me, like a Democratic governor down there in Virginia, that we got to sit on our heinies till June.
Yeah.
We will suffocate our own economy by the Democrat pillow that wants to make sure we don't breathe again. That is not who we are. We're Americans. We fight, and we will fight through this.
Well, Jessie Jane Duff, thank you so much for being here. We needed to hear that from you tonight, and I appreciate it so much. And look out for Jessie Jane Duff on Newsmax, and she's also at Women Veterans for Your Co-Chair, Veterans for Trump, Advisory Board of Women for Trump. You are everywhere supporting Trump and protecting and working for our rights in this country, and we love you, Jessie Jane Duff. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. You guys have a great week. Bye.
Bye now. Okay, so we're going to take a skinny, tiny little break when we come back, and I want to share with you guys some interesting stuff that I've learned about the virus itself, some scientific stuff that a lot of doctors around the country who are actually treating coronavirus patients all day long have been posting videos and posting things on Facebook that I found absolutely fascinating. And you will too, because it has to do with treatments. And so it's actually good news, and you're going to want to hear it. So come on back. More Andrea Kaye Show coming up.
Be sure to follow Andrea Kaye on Twitter
@AndreaKayeShow.
and follow her on Facebook and like her fan page @AndreaKaye.
Spelled Kaye.
Many of us